It happened so quick. Everybody was working, doing their job, and all of a sudden you hit that pipeline just like that, and we stopped immediately, but it could have been just a chaos there.
It's no longer safe for anyone to assume that they can disturb the ground really anywhere in this country without doing their homework.
When people work around pipelines, nobody likes to think that something's going to happen to them. And unfortunately, that leads to complacency. And then we start to take those little extra risks. And those are the things that lead to major problems.
It looks pretty serious from here. The fire department and the ambulance have just arrived on scene and are working closely with pipeline company representatives. The disaster appears to have been caused by a backhoe operator who hit a gas line. The headlines just don't tell the whole story. In reality, pipeline incidents are very rare. The real problem is that some people don't call the pipeline operator to locate the pipeline before they begin work. So in reality, they're digging blind.
We had a geophysical company that used the system. They put in the one call, but they couldn't wait. They got impatient, couldn't wait for us to come out and locate the pipeline. They went out, saw where our posts went through the pipeline, marking our pipeline, and they thought they could figure it out. They did their drill. We went out to investigate. They drilled 6 inches away from our pipeline.
About 15 years ago, there was a crew working in a plains area, and there was a recently dug pipeline. The vibrators went over top of it, and they fell basically about 6 feet on top of the pipeline. The young fella driving it apparently wasn't aware of it, thought it was just a ditch, and started rotating his tires, and it was actually rotating it right on the pipe itself. So that was an incident that happened, and could have been a huge problem down the road.
We have had some fatalities in Alberta. Unfortunately, we've had some recently that were a direct result of people disturbing the ground and not calling before they dug and not having the buried facilities located.
Many people don't realize how many thousands of miles of pipeline are located just a few feet underground. North America has the largest energy pipeline system in the world. If you look closer, you'll see a network of pipelines and other buried facilities, such as electrical and communication systems, supporting our modern society. In fact, if laid end to end, there are enough pipelines in North America to circle the Earth more than 100 times. These pipelines transport hydrocarbons such as crude oil, natural gas, jet fuel, gasoline, propane, methane, and butane. It is a vast subterranean network that runs beneath almost every city, town, and village in North America. The products carried in these pipelines are flammable, even explosive under certain conditions. Pipeline systems are by far the safest and most efficient method of transporting those products, and with your cooperation, that will continue. The pipeline industry has invested hundreds of millions of dollars ensuring the safety of its network of systems. Pipelines are designed and built according to rigorous government regulations and standards. The industry employs many construction techniques to prevent damage by rust or corrosion to the external pipe. These include chemicals, coatings, and electrical current that provide cathodic protection. Internally, the industry uses a smart pig, a sophisticated device that travels down the inside of the pipe to detect anomalies and other potential problems. Pipelines are monitored 24 hours a day and are inspected regularly by several methods, including aerial surveillance. Despite being the safest method of transportation, accidents do happen and close calls are all too frequent. First, let's take a look at a mobile crossing where heavy equipment is taken across a pipeline right-of-way where there is no road. The strip of land containing pipelines is known as the pipeline right-of-way. The right-of-way permits the pipeline company to construct, operate, and maintain the pipeline. For safety reasons, certain activities need to be controlled on and near the right-of-way. Operators of equipment that can damage the pipeline need to be aware of the dangers of unauthorized mobile crossings.
Well, keep your machines off the pipeline right away, and make sure all your people know where the lines are, and don't be afraid to have a safety meeting about it.
It's not that anybody is purposely trying to do anything that's wrong, but anytime you see a little bit of an incident, the best thing that you can do is do an incident investigation. And if you can do it jointly with between the logging company, the contractor, and the pipeline company, so much the better, and we can learn from it.
Pipelines must adhere to specific design criteria with regard to depth, but the amount of ground cover over the pipeline can vary. Always contact the pipeline company in advance of a crossing involving heavy equipment that might damage the pipeline. A representative of the pipeline company will come out to mark the line and tell you how to protect yourself and the pipeline. Now, let's take a look at what can happen when equipment passes over a pipeline right-of-way. Pipelines are buried at varying depths and in very different terrain. When equipment passes over or is driven adjacent to a pipeline, it causes a certain amount of stress or loading on the ground cover and pipe. Under certain conditions, vehicles can cause ruts in the ground over the pipeline, which can also result in compaction and loss of ground cover. If the uncontrolled crossings continue, pipe can oval due to the added loading from above. Similarly, rocks rubbing against the pipeline can damage its coating and expose the bare pipe. This could eventually lead to corrosion or other stresses, compromising the integrity of the steel.
Our equipment is often heavy, and therefore it's imperative that we have contacted the pipeline companies in advance to identify places that we can use for crossing in terms of our equipment.
If you inadvertently drive over a pipeline, the best thing you can do is get a hold of the owner of that pipeline and let them check it out. Just make a double check, precautionary measure to make sure that no damage has occurred.
Don't be embarrassed. Contact that company. Get them to come out and meet with you. We're going to work with you. We're not going to point fingers, not going to cause any blame. We're going to work with you to get the thing done properly and help you out so you can get your construction job done.
Unauthorized pipeline crossing can be a serious threat to pipeline safety, but the most common cause of a pipeline incident is unauthorized digging. Lives lost and millions of dollars in property damage, all because someone didn't call before they started to dig.
We had this one case where we got notified from another pipeline company about a landowner that had done some construction. He was building an airstrip on his land. They wanted to know if we'd heard anything about our pipeline being hit. We didn't know. We approached the landowner. He denied it. We approached him again. He denied it again. We went out, dug up our pipeline. We told him we were going to dig it up. Discovered, yes, indeed, he had hit it. His construction crew had hit it in several places. We ended up replacing about 200 feet of pipe where they damaged our pipeline. Absolutely crazy. Put himself in danger, put his construction crew in danger. Just a horrible situation.
When you're working around pipelines, the big thing is if there's any doubt at all about what's going on, stop. Make the call, and you're going to get the information you need to finish your job safely. Don't take the chances. Don't say, oh, I'm going to save myself a little bit of time, because in the long run, the gamble just isn't worth it.
We were building a barn at my home on the farm, and we needed some dirt in front of the barn for fill. We also wanted to bury some cement. We had a cat there, and we decided we'd just dig a hole and get some fill, bury the cement, and we had a pipeline. We could have lost 5 guys. 5 guys that have wives and children. So serious. How do you replace them guys, and what do their wives and family do?
Many construction activities are potentially dangerous. Excavating, drilling, tree planting, grading, and blasting are just some of them. Before starting any project, phone your local one-call center or the pipeline operator. Either will respond in a timely manner to mark the exact location of any underground facility. and there's no charge for this service. Now, here's a safety checklist you should be aware of before beginning any construction activity. Plan your activity. Identify the precise location of your work. Check records for evidence of pipeline easements or other buried utilities. Visit the site and look for signs of a nearby pipeline or other buried utilities. Regardless of whether you identify any pipelines, contact the One Call Center in the area or the pipeline company. Call the pipeline company for approval of any ground disturbance or excavation on the pipeline right-of-way. Written approval may be required. Once approved, call the pipeline company for a line locate 2 to 3 days in advance of any ground disturbance. Pipeline company representatives will mark the pipeline location and stay on site to supervise the ground disturbance. Know the meaning of the locate marks before you begin your work. And finally, always follow the instructions of the pipeline company representative.
If you hit a pipeline, or if you even think you've hit a pipeline, take the following steps immediately. Number 1, stop work. Shut off all ignition sources. Do not fill in the excavation, and evacuate the area immediately on foot. Contact the facility operator and local authorities when you are a safe distance away.
I hope we've been able to help you understand the risk of uncontrolled work near a pipeline and the importance of calling before you dig. Pipeline safety concerns all of us, so let's make pipeline strikes and those near misses a thing of the past.